Hello everyone, welcome to SIG Autoscaling for Monday the 31st of July 2023. We do have a few items on the agenda already. Suraj?
For me, I'm looking for approval on one of the PRs. This PR is to fix a bug in external gRPC cloud provider. It has been approved by the person who wrote the provider. Needs approval, so you can merge it.
Okay. I'm not sure, is Magic on the call this week? Yeah, yes. I guess, Magic, do you have, what files are we changing? It's just examples. There's nothing in the core there. So it's just underneath the external gRPC provider, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I have already received a comment from Maciek. I just saw it.
Okay, cool.
I think that sort of shows a problem that we don't have anyone with owner permissions in the external gRPC owners, which we kind of our process relies on having owners who have those permissions to improve. So that's maybe the long-term item to address here.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
And second comment, yeah.
This is more for you, Guy. Just a reminder. We adding more reviewers to our SIG.
Yeah, I think sort of comes on to the third, well, the item I have on the agenda, which I'm going to postpone until next week once Marcin's back. I think it becomes a bit easier when we start splitting out permissions, because the blast radius of onboarding people with permissions is a bit smaller then. And Benjamin is not here. Looking for reviewers on this, and yeah, it has now been rebased, so we can, I guess, is Bartek on the call? Oh, I will ping him to see if he can give it another review as he's previously reviewed it. So hopefully with the rebase it should only be minimal changes and we should be able to get that merged. Cool. I'm going to leave my, as I said, I'm going to leave my item for next week. Jochen, extending container resource policy.
Yes, so this is something that we got feature requests for, and we have a volunteer to implement this. But I have a question. Like, I'm not sure if we need it. So the thing is that VPA currently, if you can, if you have both limit and request on your containers that are controlled by VPA, you can choose between two modes. One is that we keep limit and request proportional to each other, and the other mode is that we keep limit fixed and only adjust the request, but we make sure to not exceed the limit. And the control, you can do that. You have to make a choice, and it applies both to memory and to CPU. And the request is that the person requesting this wants to have proportional limits for keep proportion between limit and request for memory. They like that. But for CPU, they want a different behavior because they are worried that if they get rid of CPU limit, if they keep it proportional, it will be very high, and so it will be effectively won't apply, and that the container will have a CPU usage burst, and other pods will be start for CPU. And I'm not sure. I asked about this on the issue. I'm not sure why that would happen. So my thinking was that if all containers have reasonable limits, then Node will enforce that they get proportional CPU to what they to their requests, right? So other pods shouldn't serve. So I like if I want to understand if that's why we want we would want to keep fixed limit on CPU when we want to adjust limit on memory, and like if we have a good reason for that, then I'm all for for doing that. But I'm not sure if someone can explain to me why we need that, because my understanding is that we shouldn't need that, but maybe I'm wrong about in one of my assumptions here.
So I think there's potentially someone internally to Skyscanner who might be interested in this, so I will point them at this and maybe get them to weigh in. I think there's a potential that we might find this useful, based on past behaviors with CPU throttling, etc. So
if I'm missing something here, then I would like to learn and get this feature added to VPA.
Yeah, so maybe just to add like one additional point of view, like my understanding is very much the same that you described, Joachim. We also were thinking about this for a while in our internal systems and played around a bit with like setting correct values for CPU limits, and in the end we ended up removing that stuff. Because we also couldn't really, even when we tried, produce a situation where like one component was starving the CPU of another component, because exactly what you described happens. Like the system scheduler assigns CPU slices proportional to the requests, and so it didn't really work out to like really starve a component's CPU consumption. But yeah, I mean, there may be like edge cases or like certain workloads where this is exactly the pattern that you see, and I would also be interested in understanding if like they have this very use case and CPU limits is the only thing preventing this from happening. I remember like a few discussions in some of the Kubernetes issues a few years back even, I think, when people were arguing something like, if you don't have a very special need that requires CPU limits, you should not bother setting them. This was more or less the thing. Maybe I can find the issues in that specific comment that I have in mind. But yeah, I'd be interested in hearing more about this as well.
cool. Okay. I think more discussion on the issue sounds like the way forward there. MPA Chen or Haran.
Oh, yes. So according to our discussion in last week, we just create a new PR, fetch all the upstream changes and split our commits. And now it's just several files per commit, except the vendor part. So please ignore the vendor, last commit to vendor, and then see if you can start just looking at one of those.
Awesome, thanks. Anything else from anyone else that's not on the agenda?
If you don't mind, I had a couple questions
Sure.
for the group. I don't normally attend this meeting, so apologies if I'm bringing up things that have been talked about. But I was looking through the repo the other day and stumbled on the multidimensional pod autoscaler proposal, and I was curious if that's something that's actively being worked on by anybody, or if that's still just a proposal and kind of just hanging out there.
Yeah, right now, Haoran and I are working on it. Mainly Haoran is working on the code, and that we.
Oh, that's what you were just talking about. Apologies. Sorry.
Yeah. So we already have the code ready. So in the PR, you can get to Haoran's repo and even try it. And then I think we also recorded some demo in KubeCon EU this year. You can also follow the demo and the slides to see how to use it.
Great, thank you. That is super helpful. That's exciting. And then my second question for the group, and I can file an issue to ask this question if that's more appropriate, so please send me in that direction if that's the case. But I was curious if there's ever been talk of allowing or opening up the opportunity for custom recommendation engines in the vertical pod autoscaler. I feel like I've seen mentions of it. Also, it was also in the multidimensional pod autoscaler spec, so maybe I'm again repeating the same issue. So go ahead.
Yes, actually, I was working on the proposal and also the PR. The PR was already merged, and now you can actually change the recommender to any recommender as a deployment you provided.
That's fantastic. Thank you. You all have solved all of my problems for the rest of the quarter.
Let me know if you encounter some issues as well.
Oh, definitely. Thank you.
Glad to be of use. Cool. Any other questions or topics from anyone else?
Maybe just I think I asked in chat, I can't see chat anymore, but the public invite on the calendar for me still points to another meeting. Does anybody here have permissions to fix that?
I think Marcin is the only one who currently has access to the calendar. So he's on annual leave this week.
Okay.
He's back next week.
All right.
It might be a case of us finding out whether he does have access to it. Otherwise, I'm going to shift it over to, I've created a new calendar anyway for the Carpenter SIGs, and I'll just make a general purpose one if we don't actually have access to that old one.
Yeah, that makes more sense. And you have a group and multiple people can control the calendar. That's what we did with other SIGs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. In that case, I shall give everyone 10 minutes of their day back. Thanks very much for attending. See you next week.
Thank you.